Okay. Habari za jioni, za asubuhi. Hapa sisi niko jina yangu ni Violet Espila. Mi natoka huko Kakamega, Kenya. Leo na interview Elizabeth Sitawa about tutaongea about cancer na your misperception na stigma ya cancer. Elizabeth ata introduce herself, alafu atatuambia more. Akona knowledge mingi ya hiyo cancer, so tutajaribu Kiswahili na English. So welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Vio. I'm Elizabeth Sitawa Kisiangani from Kenya, Kitale. I'm very happy to be in this program. Currently, I'm on cancer treatment. I'm fighting ovarian cancer stage 3B, and I am, at the moment, as I'm speaking, I'm in Nairobi, taking my medication, and then I go back home. So I always travel to Nairobi to get my medication. Thank you for having me, and I'm sure it's going to be a good show.
Asante sana, Elizabeth. Thank you, Elizabeth. Kwanza tu leo to start, let's just dive into the questions about stigma. You know, can you tell us some of the stigmas in the villages or in Kenya, and how cancer is being perceived, especially when you knew you had cancer? How was that experience for yourself, for your family, you know, for the community?
When we talk about cancer, you know, most people take it as a death sentence. Once somebody gets cancer, you see people are shaken, everybody will shake and just be scared that we are going to lose this person to cancer. And you'll find that people even might run away from you. People might run away from you because they think that because you have cancer, they'll also get cancer. So the first stigma for cancer is that social misunderstanding. The social misunderstanding whereby people may distance themselves from you because of the fear. And they fear. So they don't understand anything about cancer. So they fear that this cancer might get me. They think that it can just be contracted like that. So education and open communication are very, very important. I wish people get communication so that we can break down these barriers on the social misunderstanding about cancer. So when somebody is left all alone, you'll find that this person will be all alone and will be stressed, and you'll find this person may be dying, not because of cancer, but because this person has been neglected by very close people who think that cancer, they'll contract cancer because of the way we look. You know, we look funny when we are fighting cancer. The way I look is not the way I looked 3 years ago. So somebody will meet me and maybe tell me, hey, you really cut weight, where's your hair, and so on and so forth. Something like that. So I remember one time when I was in a vehicle going home, and my face was had a lot of I had sores all over the body, and I just nilikuwa nimejifunika uso kwa sababu nilikuwa na vidonda, nilikuwa nimetoka toka. So there's one woman who was seated with na kasonga kando kabisa kwa sababu aliniona nilikuwa nafanana. So that's as much as I don't stay with such a person, but immediately unafanyiwa hivyo, mtu hataki umguze. No. It's already stigma, right? It's stigma already. So that is one of the things. And then we also have fear of discrimination. People with cancer sometimes are treated very, very differently. or you'll find that people with cancer will lose opportunities. You go for an interview, and then the way you just look like somebody knows this one is not okay. Cancer, a person who is suffering from cancer and has not really accepted himself or herself, when you just look at that person, you know this person is not very okay. So you find that this person might be treated differently, and they might even lose an opportunity, a job opportunity, maybe a tender somewhere, because this person has cancer. So that is already stigma. So people are supposed to be educated. Their awareness and their advocacy are very, very crucial. They are very crucial in promoting a supportive environment for this person who has cancer. At least some people should be taught. When somebody has cancer, maybe the family and even the community is supposed to be told about that cancer in details, so that this person cannot suffer this stigmatization. And then apart from social misunderstanding, and then we have the fear of discrimination, and then we also have emotional isolation. Emotional isolation. Now, when somebody is stigmatized, you'll find that this person will sit alone, will not want to be associated with other people. So it brings out the emotional isolation. So people will be emotionally isolated, in that this person will sit all alone, will not talk to other people, because of the stigma, because of what other people are already talking about him or her. He already knows that I'm going to die. Yeah, I'm going to die, so I should not even sit with them, because I have been isolated. I've not got a job. People are not coming close to me because I have wounds on my body and so on. So such things will lead to emotional isolation, and we really have to build the community and educate other people about it, so that a person who is really, really into, who is fighting cancer, cannot have that problem of emotional isolation. And then also, maybe this person is at work. The person is working. For example, I'm a teacher. You'll see that the workplace, those people might also be part of the stigma you're going through, because you might not be given some duties because they feel you're less capable. Maybe you were in charge of the library. You'll find that they'll take away that responsibility, because they feel because you have cancer, you are not capable of doing that. So the workplace will also have that stigma. And then the stigma will really hit on this person who is fighting cancer, and you'll find that this person, if he or she doesn't get a very strong support system, this person might die not because of cancer, but because of that stigma that has really affected the emotional part of it. Fighting cancer is all about your emotions, yourself. So once you are stigmatized, you are not yourself. You will not be yourself completely, because there are so many things that are going to happen in you. You'll fear even talking to people. And then when you now sit alone, you cannot share your problem with anybody. You see, you'll completely not be able to share your problem with anybody. So for us to challenge this stigma is to allow this person fighting cancer to share their story. To share their story. This person who is fighting cancer, to be allowed to share their story, to just talk to people, talk to them, tell them how they are feeling, and so on. Now, when you tell other people how you're feeling, your heart even becomes lesser heavy. A problem shared is a problem half solved. So when you talk to somebody, when you do that, there are so many misconceptions about cancer. There are so many, a lot of misconceptions about cancer, that cancer kills, that cancer is contagious, that only people who are not healthy are the ones who get cancer. And then you find that people say maybe all the cancers are the same. And even the treatment is bad, that people, you will die while being treated. The treatment is not good, yes. But we are supposed to be positive, that cancer is not a death sentence. Tell that person who is suffering from cancer that cancer is not a death sentence, and somebody can go through the treatment and just be okay. So this stigma is just supposed to be taken away from people who are fighting cancer, so that we can have a very good community supporting the cancer patients and talking to them, so that we don't get to fear when somebody has been diagnosed with cancer.
And you mentioned a lot of good points. You mentioned discrimination, which is really big. Discrimination can lead to cancer patients, especially those the ones that are vulnerable or they're not vocal, because you are so vocal in this situation, in this area. You're very vocal, you're very open, about cancer and talking about your story, sharing about your story. And a lot of people are very, they admire you so much, because you are vocal. So how would you, some people are not at all. Some people are very, when they hear this, oh, cancer, why me? Okay, why me? What is this cancer? So and then when they get the cancer, they don't know what to do, especially I would say in Kenya. They might be isolated, as you mentioned before. They might be isolated. They might not have family support. So how would you encourage such individuals to come out, or even as you mentioned, a community? Yes, we can discuss community, but with community it's a challenge, right? Because if you don't know, if you don't know what it is, it's misperception. Oh, this person, maybe he some of the misperception is this person has been cursed, or this person, I don't know, maybe the dieting is maybe what they're doing is not, so it's a lot of misperception. Um how would you go about encouraging such individuals to be vocal, like you?
Yeah, so I think it will start with the hospital where this person has been diagnosed. The hospital should just call the family members, because we react to messages in different ways. The way I react to a message is not the same way this other person will do it. So I might be very strong, but there's another person who, once he or she hears that you have cancer, the next thing, this person will be down, weeping, some will even kill themselves. I've learned of some who have killed themselves because they have been diagnosed with cancer. So when you get such, to those medics who might be hearing this, I would prefer that you really look at this person whom you're going to give this information. Is this person strong enough to hold the message? And then get the closest family members, maybe the parents, or the guardians, or the siblings, or the children. It depends with the relationship. Get somebody or people who are very close to this person who's been diagnosed, so that you talk to them, and also make this person feel that cancer is not a death sentence. You can even get somebody who is very strong and is fighting cancer.
Right.
I'm always very ready to be
Mhm.
called somewhere and just talk to somebody about cancer. So you can call somebody and tell that person that cancer is not a death sentence. Look at me, I'm
Yeah.
fighting it.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
all I'm going on with my activities. I'm writing about it. I'm telling people it's not a death sentence. People are supposed to be told about it. There's supposed to be an open communication. Talk to people.
Mhm.
Tell them that cancer is not a death sentence. And then
Mhm.
once you have this cancer, you
Right.
accept you have it, but
Right.
don't
And
accept die,
and
because
honestly, you're right. Because during the conference, when you talked about cancer and you talked about yourself, uh, I didn't know some of the audience, you know, came out,
Mhm,
and I did not, that was not in me to even know about that. And
mhm,
they came out, they talked about it. Um, so you are an example of an advocate, because you are going through it, and when they hear from you and your experience, it boosts them, to say, okay, maybe this is something I need to maybe only talk to specific people, to advocate for myself first, to understand, because this person went through it, versus, I find it hard, for someone who has cancer that will speak to someone who doesn't have cancer. They will, and it will be like, well, you don't know what I'm going through, so I can't. If they are not vocal, they might say, well, they will be uncomfortable to even talk about the situation, um and you know
no, the wearer of the shoe knows where it pinches. I'll give out an experience about cancer, because I've been on chemo, I've been on radio, I've been in surgery,
right.
I've gone through the side effects of the treatment. I know how it feels. But this
Mhm,
other person, I know the emotions that we always have. This person fighting cancer has some emotions. This person
mhm,
can be very angry, yeah, especially the anger. We really have those anger issues. So
mhm,
you can talk to people and tell them a cancer fighter once
mhm.
in a while will have those anger issues. So when you
Yeah.
see him or her very angry, don't just say that he's bad, what and what. No, 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 no. It's all about that treatment that we go through. It really affects our emotions, and then just
Mhm,
having cancer is already a torture to you. So at
right.
times you just feel bitter. You really feel bitter. So it's all about being yourself, and then just accepting the situation at hand, and
Right.
being able to handle
Right.
that situation in a very, very, very energetic and positive way. It's not
Mhm,
just about being positive. You're supposed to be resilient.
mhm,
Resilience will also make you to fight this disease with all your
mhm,
might and main. So
right.
I really wish to tell the cancer fighters that it's not about time that we are somebody is supposed to say this person died of cancer. No,
Right.
no, no, no. Cancer should never let us die of accidents and other things, but not of
Right.
cancer.
Mhm,
Yeah, so we really have to take it positively that cancer is not a death sentence, and we are supposed to go out there and tell people that somebody cannot die of cancer,
mhm,
cannot die. And if it's all about dying, maybe it's just your
mhm.
time.
Right.
Time, know that
Right.
cancer is going to kill you. It's not a death sentence. And let's
Mhm,
educate other people and have that open communication. This one will break the barriers,
mhm,
really break the barriers that are there, that people are really talking about, and so on. So we are supposed to be very
mhm.
strong. Mm.
And and with the health industry and the health industry in Kenya and with cancer, how can you walk us through that process? And if someone, especially if someone who found out they have cancer in the village, how would they even go about starting treatment? The cost, where would they how would they go about even getting funding? Because let's say walk us through about that experience and how because yes, if an individual does find out they have cancer, they might be in the village, they might be isolated, they might be emotional, they might have stress, they might used to going to the farm, doing their day-to-day activities, and then they found out they can't do their day-to-day activities. That's something that and you have families or communities that might not understand it. And how would you provide support or your experience to such individuals that are not out there and they're just in the village and they don't know what to do?
Now, when we talk about once you are diagnosed with cancer, the first thing I would really like to tell somebody is you just have you be ready to part with a good amount of money.
Mhm.
Cancer is very, very, very expensive. As I talk to you right now, as I'm fighting cancer, I'm homeless because of cancer. I turned out to be a beggar because of cancer. I lost a lot of friends because of cancer, because I never had anything. So having cancer will definitely change your life. You're going to sell your property so that you get well. And that is the assumption that most people make. There's a time I was in a vehicle and the people were talking about a cancer patient who had just died. And they said, the way they had sold everything, and they just know very well that cancer usually kills. They could have just left. And I was like, I told them I had to speak out because I'm there. I told them, no, it was all that his time had reached. But I'm here. I fought cancer. I sold my property, but I'm here. I'm fine. So that selling of property will make people neglect you, will make
Right.
people leave you. Yeah,
Mhm.
because it's pretty expensive.
Mhm.
After selling my property and going to the bank to get a loan,
Mhm.
I now resorted to begging. I just had to come out publicly. I wanted to fight cancer silently. I never wanted anybody to know about it, but I had to come out publicly and tell people because I never had money. I had exhausted all I had. So if you get a good support system, especially those people in the rural areas, rural areas, most people die when they are diagnosed with cancer because first, like where I stay, we have to get treatment in Eldoret. So from Kitale, Kitale will only deal with the palliative care. That is taking care of your uh, the misfortunes that can come, maybe the pain management. But the treatment, chemotherapy, you have to go to Eldoret. So Eldoret
Mhm.
is a distance. It's quite a distance from Kitale.
Very
And
distant.
Eldoret is the biggest hospital within. So you get people from West Pokot, the whole of Rift Valley, what and what, everybody goes there.
Mhm.
So it's pretty expensive. And when we talk about the insurance cover, like the SHA
Mhm.
is very unpredictable. Like today, people have stormed the office of the Minister for Health because
Mhm.
people are out here. People are all over Kenyatta
Mhm.
National Hospital. They haven't got their treatment because
Mhm.
of SHA.
Now, can you,
People,
for someone that doesn't know what SHA is? Can you explain a bit about what SHA is?
Yeah, it's the Social Health Authority. It used to be NHIF, the National Hospital Insurance Fund, and then it was changed to SHA. I think it's Social Health Authority, something like that. That is the insurance cover, the one the government takes care of our health. So that one is the one that is currently being put in place into the system, and it's not very much into the system, and it's bringing a lot of chaos here and there. And I've seen so many patients that are stranded because although for me it has worked, but we have other people who are really complaining about it. So um, the treatment for cancer is expensive. It's expensive. In fact, apart from having that insurance cover, there are so many other things involved because you're going to lose weight. You'll have to get new clothes. For me, the clothes I was putting on 2 years ago, which were very new, I had to put them aside because I couldn't wear them. They are now very big. So there are so many things you're going to lose as a person because of the treatment. There are foods that you're supposed to eat. Nowadays, these natural foods are very expensive. You'll not say they're cheap unless you put them in your farm. But going to buy them, they're very, very, very expensive.
And yes,
There's
let's talk
diet that
about that. Yeah, let's talk about the diet, the traditional Kenyan diet, right? Because if someone lives in a city, they might not have access to a small garden to plant their own food, for fresh produce. Um, how can uh, do you think is important for Kenyans to go back to tradition diet? And with traditional diet, we pesticide was not known. And we will use natural fertilizer for a lot of our diet. And so yes, walk us through about that and how challenging it is for someone. Someone in the village might have an advantage because land is there, but they might not have they might have the knowledge, but by that they might not have the infrastructure or the modern farming. How do you let me put it this way, how do you, or how, you know what would you advise, or what would you think that traditional, we should go back to really 100% traditional farming?
Yeah, so it's all about 100% traditional. 100, even those eggs you're eating, they're just supposed to be those eggs from the free range chicken.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because it's all about nature. It's all about nature, and people should just stop buying these processed foods. Let them just go to the farms and get the foods from the farms. Eat arrowroots, like I'm just from eating arrowroots right now. Eat the arrowroots. Eat fermented cabbage. Eat cabbage. Eat anything that is from the soil,
Mm-hmm.
just from the soil, pick from the soil, cook, and then eat. When
Mm-hmm.
you're making your meat, don't go for for those seed oils and use for that you're making very nice meat. So you go for the seed oils, and then you do what and what so that your meat can be very, very, very delicious. No, just use the oil in the meat. Why shouldn't you use that? So it's all about the natural.
Mm-hmm.
Don't, for those people who drink alcohol, can you stop it?
Right.
Alcohol is one of the major causes of cancer. You might enjoy right now, but be very sure in your old age you're going to eat everything that you've worked for in your old age because of cancer and because of uh, the alcohol you've been taking. Don't use sugar. Just stop
Mhm.
using sugar. There's
Mhm.
nothing that sugar is going to help you with. Sugar
Right.
is being stored in your body, and cancer is all about the sugar that is in the body,
Mhm.
stored in
Mhm.
the body. So you use sugar, the sugar is stored in the body, and that's all.
Mhm.
You'll get cancer. Cancer will come. So
Mhm. Mhm.
there are so many types of cancers. I discovered we even have the cancer of the tongue. There's
Mhm.
somebody
Mhm.
who doesn't have a tongue because of
Right.
cancer. I have a friend of mine among those cancer fighters who doesn't
Mhm.
have completely. The tongue is
Wow.
not there because of cancer. Yeah.
Wow. That
So
I
maybe
have not
the
heard. Mhm.
cancer, only the nails are the ones, but we have cancer of all parts of the body. So
Mhm.
any person who is going to listen to this, uh, cancer is found in your kitchen.
Mhm.
Go to the kitchen and just take away those processed foods that you have.
Mhm.
Just take them away. Just
So
listen to me.
it's easy to say processed food, right? Someone
Mhm.
that lives because uh, someone that lives in Nairobi who have no choice. Even here in the United States, we eat a lot of processed food, right? And certain areas we might not have access to fresh produce, and if we do have access to certain fresh produce, they are expensive. They're expensive, and most people can't even afford um, organic food because and they have no choice but to eat processed food. So in Kenya, it's I feel like in Kenya we're leaning towards that, especially in city areas where we have to go to the supermarket. We have to
Do you know?
to
Do you know?
adapt to this.
Do you know I discovered Nairobi is even cheaper than Kitale?
Hmm.
With the natural foods, there's the carrots, we have the
Mhm.
arrowroots. I'm eating the arrowroots. And
Mhm.
the size of the 100 shillings arrowroots in Nairobi compared to Kitale, Kitale is even little compared to Nairobi.
Wow.
Yeah, people just don't want to eat natural foods. Natural foods are all over. They're all over. It's only
Mhm.
that people don't want to eat them. People are
Mhm.
lazy. People just
Right.
want ready food. They reach home,
Mhm.
just maybe boil it a bit and then eat. They
Right.
they
Right.
they don't want to
They
go
want
through that. The
the
fast.
fast life.
Yeah, they're just going for these fast foods so that they just reach home, eat, and then
Mhm.
you find somebody doesn't walk around. Walking is an exercise. It
Yeah.
helps
Yeah.
your body. There are so many things you can do. As I learned when I already had this cancer, but I'll always tell people do it before
Mhm.
it's too late. Uh,
Mhm.
Eat well, just eat well,
Right.
embrace healthy eating,
Mhm.
embrace the natural eating, and that's what is going to help you. Just eat
Mhm.
healthy, stop alcohol. That is the
Mhm.
main thing. In fact, immediately you're diagnosed with cancer, you will be asked, do you drink?
Mhm.
That's the first thing they're going to tell you. So you will be told to stop drinking, you will be
Mhm.
told to stop using sugar. So why
Mhm.
don't you stop it before it's too late?
It's true. It's true. You start it
I
before it's too
wish.
late, and you go back to that natural
Mm,
way of dieting.
because it's not easy. I've lost a lot of body organs. In fact, I've been in the theater more than 5 times. I can say 9 times I've been in the
Mhm.
theater. So losing organs because cancer has already destroyed the organs completely. So you can keep your body organs by just
Mhm.
eating well, by tidying your kitchen and making sure the kitchen is is very, very neat, away from these dirty foods that we use a lot of money to buy, and it's the cancer that we are buying. So people should just embrace the natural foods, and they're there.
Exactly.
Don't, people have been equating sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are there, and then you equate
Yes.
sweet potatoes with poverty.
Mhm.
That we know, you'll find that people now give stories. Long time ago, we never had bread. All we could eat is sweet potatoes, and
No,
these sweet
and
potatoes,
yeah,
eh,
sweet
eh,
potato,
they
sweet
think they
potatoes.
think
Yeah.
they think
It,
eating bread is fancy. It's fancy,
no,
yes, but
it's not. It's
fancy.
not fancy. It's not
Mhm.
even having a skuma, and kale,
Mm,
collard greens. Those are the
sure.
things that we take for granted because of like, no, I eat that every day. I don't want to eat, I don't want to eat that because I eat every day. But you don't realize that it has a lot of nutrients. Green leaves are really good for you. They're very good dietary, but this is and this is why with cancer, I mentioned before, HIV and AIDS is known. Everyone is educated, about HIV and AIDS. Cancer is unknown. Cancer is unknown,
Exactly.
and because of the infrastructure and the challenges of someone that has cancer, especially in vulnerable areas like in the village, they might not have
Mhm.
the infrastructure to reach to a hospital.
Sure.
So how do we focus on advocating for those individuals? Particularly, yes, in the village, I I am happy. That we are still in a traditional way of food, but it's a lot of unknowns that's being introduced in the villages that the
Do
villages
you know,
might
Bayo?
not. Uh-huh.
I know of a person who
Hmm.
had cancer stage 3C,
Hmm.
had cancer stage 3C, and could not afford going for chemotherapy. But after I talked to this person
Hmm.
about diet,
Hmm.
all this person did was completely change
Okay.
the diet to what I eat. Do you know the
Hmm.
person is still alive?
Yes, I
Mhm.
believe you. I really
Food
100% believe you. Hmm.
Food, food is the first medicine, not chemotherapy. Yes,
Right.
chemo also is part of the treatment, but your diet is the first thing. Diet and
Mhm.
then your attitude. Those two
Right.
things.
Right.
You say,
I
I'm
want.
going to be fine, and then you just change your diet completely. That's what has made me very strong. In as much as I go for treatment, there's
Mhm.
one thing that there are two things that I completely changed. I changed my diet completely, and I
Mhm.
also changed my attitude to a
Mhm.
positive attitude. Those
Mhm.
two things have been the best medicine for me.
Mhm. And yes, I 100% dieting is good. And sometimes I appreciate that we don't have as much resources in the village, and we rely only on the food that we eat at the farm. But it's certain
Mhm.
chemicals that are being introduced that people might not realize, such as pesticide. To say, oh,
Mm.
you're gonna have more. If you use this particular pesticide, you're going to have more yield in harvest. But the
Sure.
not knowing that this is harmful for you. And
Mhm.
then it's depleting the soil, where now you have been relying only on your soil to produce your crops, so you can rely on eating those crops. So those are the things that are fear that can spark or can increase a cancer where we are not ready, and we don't have those infrastructure that might, it could be a problem, problem for future, especially when our health industry infrastructure it's still developing.
Mm. Mm, that's very true. So it's all about our kitchen, and then the strength that you give yourself while you're fighting this cancer. Have that self-compassion. Understand yourself that it's sometimes okay to have to be angry. There are some bad days of a cancer fighter, and then you just have that positive affirmation in you. You reinforce yourself. Have that inner strength. Remind yourself of that courage that you carry daily,
Mm-hmm.
in and out. Just be courageous that I'm going to be to be okay. And then you focus on what you can control. There are so many things that you can control yourself with. You can. Then you celebrate those small wins. You go to the hospital, you feel not so okay. So when you go and then take some tests and you prove that the tests are negative, celebrate. When you go for treatment and finish chemo, celebrate. Huh? When you go for a test and it turns out negative, celebrate. Talk about it, and build your resilience every time. Build your resilience by adopting to changes. The change that will come, just adopt to it, and then be yourself. And this cancer is just going to be a disease like malaria that we can just fight, take our medicine, and live our life, go to work, be happy with other people. Not to cry publicly every time. We can do it. We can just do it as we are fighting cancer. So it's all about having strength, giving yourself strength even as you're fighting this cancer by eating well, and then surrounding yourself with positive
Right.
vibes. There's
Right.
anybody who is going to torture your mind, just get rid of that
Get
person.
rid of
Whether the
that.
person is
Mhm.
whether the person is family or not, just get
Right.
rid of that person. Don't care about anything that is going to distort your mind. Keep
Right.
it away.
Right.
Just keep
I
it
wa-
away.
100%
Mm.
I agree with that, because cancer with stress, it does not
Mm.
go well, because um, with stress it kills you faster than cancer. Um,
Mhm. That's
so
true.
so yeah, I 100% agree with you, and
Mm.
this I wish we can continue to to have these discussions. Y- but with these discussions, we want to be able to bring such discussions to villages, to talk more, about this discussion, so we're at least aware, at least the villages, we are all aware, we're in the village, like what to look for, what not to look for is very important. And with you, coming on the first conference, um, I I I was very intrigued. I was very for the fact that you just talked to everyone, and everyone was so open to ask questions that we didn't even get to get to it, and and I hope I can invite you again for our next event, if possible, and we can continue to have this discussion, at least to bring this discussion to the village.
Yeah, I'm always available. Don't be scared asking me any. Don't fear asking me for any of your time, anytime, unless I'm sick. But I'll always be ready. I'll
Okay.
always be there. Mm.
I
Mm.
appreciate this. Do you have any other last words that you want to share, or any advice that you may have, that when someone is watching this, they might take that as yes, this is the person that I need to listen to?
Mhm. All I can tell, everybody about cancer is just know that cancer is not a death sentence. make sure that you have that art of disputing any negativity, just any negativity in your mind. Actually, I may not be positive all through. At times I get very weak, at times I cry, but that negativity in your mind, dispute it and just be yourself. Focus on your healing and always know that cancer is not a death sentence. Thank you.
And yes, and one last point, your foundation. Tell us about
Yeah.
tell us about your foundation. If someone is seeing this, how can we involved? How can the village involved in your foundation? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So in my fight, in my cancer fight, I came up with this idea, and some friends also came up with this idea of having this organization under my name. It's a community-based organization called the Elizabeth Sitawa Cancer Community-Based Organization, and it is majorly dealing with the stigma in the society about cancer. We want to uproot that the very, very disturbing root that is in people, that cancer is a death sentence. So we want to really talk to people, enlighten them about cancer, and tell them that cancer is not a death sentence. We are soon going to start our activities very, very soon. And we are also going to be giving out our account number where somebody can help us so that we can help other people, because cancer patients are really in need of food. Some cannot even travel to their places of treatment. We can help with that 200, 100 shillings to those places. So that's what we want to do as an organization, just to uproot the stigma that is really in people. The stigmatization of other people. Want to talk to people so that you can have that emotional wellness, even if you get a person fighting cancer.
Absolutely. I am so proud of you, and I'm excited about your foundation. And I hope we can connect with the small farm that we have in Kenya. It's not much, but we can definitely work something out. And even planting vegetables and distributing to individuals that are unable, because I do understand with my dad also died of cancer, and he had 100% family support, and but it was challenging too as well, and so yes, I am very honored to know you, and to for us to continue with this new awareness of cancer throughout Kenya, throughout the villages, everyone to have the known and the information.
Sure.
So, okay. Thank you. I'm gonna stop the video, but